The wind coming off the Atlantic carries salt and something else, something that smells like wet stone and old wood. If you stand on the western shore of Ireland, looking out at Clew Bay on a grey morning, you see islands, hundreds of them. Some are just rocks where seabirds nest, others are large enough to hold a castle, a few cows, and a family that has lived there for generations. But in the 16th century, those islands meant something else entirely. They meant safety for those who knew how to use them. Clew Bay is not like other bays along the Irish coast. Its entrance is narrow, squeezed between the cliffs of Achill Island and the mainland. A ship that does not know the channels will run aground on submerged rocks. The bottom is uneven, full of shallows that shift with the tide. Larger vessels, the kind the English Navy used, could not navigate these waters without a local pilot. And the local pilots were loyal to one person. Her name was Grace O'Malley. She was born around 1530 into a family that had controlled these waters for generations. Her father, Eogan O'Malley, was a chieftain and a trader. The O'Malleys did not farm. They did not work the land. They worked the sea. They fished, they traded with Spain and France, and when the opportunity presented itself, they took what they could from passing ships. In those days, the line between merchant and pirate was thin. A captain who carried cargo in peacetime could become a raider the moment a richer vessel appeared on the horizon. Grace grew up watching this. She learned to read the weather, to handle a sailing boat, to recognize the difference between a merchantman and a warship from the way it sat in the water. When she was still young, she asked to join her father on a trading voyage to Spain. He refused. According to the stories that survive, she cut off her hair, dressed as a boy, and hid on the ship until it was too far from land to turn back. Whether that story is true or not, it captures something essential about her. She would not accept the limits that others placed on her. By the time she was in her 20s, Grace commanded her own fleet. She controlled the waters around Clew Bay and beyond. Her base was on Clare Island, one of the larger islands in the bay, where she built a castle that still stands today. From there, she could see any ship approaching. The natural defenses of the bay worked in her favor. The narrow entrance meant that intruders had to come in single file. The islands provided cover for her own vessels. She could send out fast galleys, each rowed by 30 or 40 men, to intercept a target before it reached the open sea. But Clew Bay was not just a hiding place. It was a base for something larger. Grace collected taxes from local fishermen and farmers. She charged tolls to ships that wanted safe passage through her waters. Those who refused to pay found their cargo missing and their crews stranded on the shore. She was not a pirate in the romantic sense. She was a businesswoman who used violence when necessary. The bay itself is a place of strange beauty. The water is cold and clear, colored green and gray by the sky above. The islands rise like the backs of sleeping animals. On a calm day, you can hear the sheep grazing on the slopes. On a stormy day, the waves crash against the rocks, and the wind howls through the ruins of old monasteries. It is a landscape that demands respect, and Grace O'Malley commanded that respect from everyone who entered her territory. She married twice, both times to powerful Irish chieftains. But she never gave up her own power. When her second husband was killed in a feud, she reclaimed her fleet and her lands. She fought battles on land and sea. She was captured by the English and imprisoned in Dublin Castle. She escaped. She negotiated with Queen Elizabeth I herself, meeting the English monarch at Greenwich Palace in 1593. According to the record, Grace refused to bow. She saw herself as a queen in her own right, ruler of the waters of Clew Bay. The English called her a pirate. The Irish called her a leader. She called herself a woman who did what was necessary to survive. And Clew Bay, with its hidden channels and its rocky islands, gave her the means to do it. The bay was her fortress, her treasury, and her home. It still holds her memory in the stones of her castle and the names of the islands. As the 16th century unfolded, Clew Bay found itself at the epicenter of a maelstrom of piracy and rebellion, with Queen Grace O'Malley at its helm. The bay's unique geography, with its numerous channels and its rocky islands, gave her the means to do it. The bay was her fortress, her treasury, and her home. It still holds her memory in the stones of her castle and the names of the islands. On a clear day, The sun cast a golden glow over the bay, illuminating the waves as they gently lapped against the shore. The sound of seagulls filled the air, their cries punctuated by the creaking of wooden ships as they rode at anchor in the bay. During the golden age of piracy, Clew Bay became a hotbed of activity, with pirates and privateers alike seeking to exploit the region's strategic location and abundant resources. Queen Grace O'Malley, with her cunning and bravery, was the mastermind behind many of the most daring raids and battles of the time. Her fleet of ships, manned by skilled sailors and fighters from the local clans, struck fear into the hearts of their enemies, and her name became synonymous with piracy and rebellion. The smell of salt and tar filled the air as her ships set sail, their crews busy adjusting the rigging and checking the cargo holds. One of the most notable raids of the time was the attack on the English ship, the Pembroke, which was carrying a valuable cargo of gold and silver. Queen Grace O'Malley and her crew, disguised as English sailors, infiltrated the ship and took control of it, making off with the treasure and leaving the English crew to fend for themselves. This daring heist was just one of many that earned Queen Grace O'Malley her reputation as a cunning and fearless pirate. As the Pembroke's crew scrambled to regain control of their ship, Queen Grace O'Malley stood on the deck, her long red hair blowing in the wind, her eyes flashing with triumph. "We'll not be caught, me boys," she cried, her voice carrying across the water. "We'll sail back to Clew Bay, and we'll divide the spoils among us." But Queen Grace O'Malley's role in the golden age of piracy was not limited to raids and battles. She was also a skilled diplomat who worked tirelessly to unite the Irish clans against their common enemy, the English. Through a series of clever alliances and strategic marriages, she managed to bring together the warring clans and forge a powerful coalition that would challenge English rule in Ireland. Her diplomatic maneuvers were often cunning and ruthless, but they were always driven by a deep sense of loyalty to her people and her land. In the great hall of her castle, Queen Grace O'Malley would meet with the leaders of the clans, her eyes locked on theirs as she negotiated the terms of their alliance. The fire crackled in the hearth, casting flickering shadows on the walls as the leaders talked long into the night. As the years passed, Queen Grace O'Malley's reputation as a pirate and a rebel leader continued to grow, and her name became a byword for bravery and cunning. Her exploits were the stuff of legend, and her people loved and revered her for her unwavering commitment to their cause. And though the English would eventually seek to bring her to justice, Queen Grace O'Malley would remain a thorn in their side, always staying one step ahead of her enemies and inspiring her people to resist their oppressors. The sound of drums and pipes filled the air as her people celebrated their victories, their voices raised in cheers and songs of praise for their beloved queen. The legacy of Queen Grace O'Malley and the golden age of piracy in Clew Bay continues to captivate people to this day, with its stories of bravery, cunning, and rebellion. The bay itself remains a testament to the power and the glory of that era. Its rocky islands and hidden channels are a reminder of the many adventures and exploits that took place there. And though the pirates and privateers are long gone, their memory lives on. In the stones of the castle and the names of the islands, a reminder of a time when courage and cunning were the keys to survival and success. On a quiet evening, as the sun sets over the bay, it is possible to imagine the sound of Queen Grace O'Malley's ships, their sails billowing in the wind, their crews singing sea shanties as they sail off into the sunset. The legend of Queen Grace O'Malley lives on, a testament to the enduring power of courage and determination in the face of overwhelming odds. As the English crown began to exert its influence over the Emerald Isle, Clew Bay, the Irish pirate stronghold of Queen Grace O'Malley, found itself at the forefront of a brewing storm. The English, determined to suppress the pirate menace, launched a series of campaigns aimed at dismantling the pirate network that had taken hold in the region. But Queen Grace O'Malley, a cunning and formidable leader, was not one to back down from a challenge. She forged alliances with other European buccaneers, forming a loose network of pirate ships that could provide mutual support and protection. The English, however, were relentless in their pursuit, and their military tactics became increasingly sophisticated. They employed a combination of naval blockades and land-based raids, hoping to catch the pirates off guard and disrupt their operations. Queen Grace O'Malley, anticipating the English moves, adapted her own tactics to counter theirs. She utilized the treacherous waters of Clew Bay to her advantage, employing hit-and-run attacks against the English ships that dared to enter her domain. Her knowledge of the bay's hidden coves and secret passages allowed her to evade capture and launch surprise attacks on the English fleet. The English, frustrated by their inability to capture the elusive queen, turned their attention to her allies, hoping to weaken her support network. But Queen Grace O'Malley had anticipated this move as well, and she had taken steps to secure her alliances, binding her fellow pirates to her cause through a combination of loyalty, honor, and self-interest. As the English threat intensified, the pirate alliance grew stronger, with Queen Grace O'Malley at its helm. Her legend spread far and wide, striking fear into the hearts of her enemies and inspiring her followers to stand firm against the English onslaught. The stage was set for a showdown between the English crown and the pirate queen, with the fate of Clew Bay hanging precariously in the balance. In the face of overwhelming odds, Queen Grace O'Malley remained resolute, her determination to defend her stronghold, and her people driving her to devise ever more ingenious tactics to outwit the English. Her name became synonymous with bravery and cunning, and her exploits were told and retold in hushed whispers around campfires and in taverns, inspiring a new generation of pirates to take up the mantle of resistance against the English crown. The winds of war were blowing strong, and Queen Grace O'Malley stood ready, her ships prepared, her heart steeled for the battles that lay ahead. The English might have the might of the crown behind them, but the pirate queen had something they did not: the loyalty of her people, the power of the sea, and the unyielding spirit of a true warrior. The waters of Clew Bay still whisper the name of Queen Grace O'Malley, the pirate queen who once ruled over these shores with a fierce determination and cunning. The English might have the power of the crown, but the pirate queen had something they could not touch: the memory of her defiance. As the sun sets over the bay, the islands that dot the waters stand as a testament to her legacy, each one holding a story connected to her. The decline of piracy in Clew Bay was not sudden. It happened ship by ship, year by year, as the English navy grew stronger and their patrols more frequent. The old pirate havens along the coast were blockaded or destroyed, and many of Grace's descendants abandoned the sea for safer trades, becoming farmers or merchants. But, even as the last pirate ship rotted on the shore, the spirit she had embodied did not die. It simply changed form. In the centuries that followed, Irish rebels against English rule often invoked her name. Poets wrote verses about her exploits, and songs were composed in her honor, sung in taverns and at wakes. When the Irish fought for independence in the 1920s, some carried her image into battle. She had become more than a historical figure. She had become a symbol of resistance, a reminder that the Irish would never fully submit. Historians argue about the details of her life. No personal letters survive. The exact number of ships she commanded is unknown, but the core of her story is documented in English state papers, in the accounts of her meeting with Queen Elizabeth, in the legal agreements she forced the crown to sign. According to trial records from the period, she was charged with piracy multiple times but never convicted. The English could not prove their case because the local juries refused to testify against her. Modern scholars see her as a feminist icon, and with good reason. In a world where women had almost no legal rights, she commanded men, owned land, and negotiated with queens. She led fleets into battle while pregnant, she demanded, and received a pension from the English crown. But reducing her to a single label misses the point. She was a product of her time and place, a woman who used every tool available to protect her family and her territory. The most concrete evidence of her legacy sits at the bottom of Clew Bay. More than 30 islands dot these waters, and every one of them has a story connected to her. Clare Island, where she was born, still holds the ruins of her castle. The abbey there contains a stone carving of her face, one of the few contemporary images that survive. Rockfleet Castle, where she lived for decades, still stands on the shore. Its thick walls facing the Atlantic, the sound of the waves crashing against the shore, is a reminder of the power and the beauty of the sea. Today, tourists come to Clew Bay to see the places she walked. They climb the stairs of her tower houses and look out over the same waters she once ruled. Local guides tell stories passed down through 12 generations. The stories of her bravery, her cunning, and her determination. The bay itself has become a monument to her life, A landscape shaped by her decisions, the islands, the castles, the ruins, all of it remains, a testament to her enduring legacy. In the 1990s, a statue of Grace O'Malley was erected in Westport, the main town on Clew Bay. It shows her standing tall, looking out to sea, a sword at her side. The inscription reads simply, "Pirate Queen." But those who know the full story understand that she was far more than that. She was a diplomat, a naval commander, a mother, a survivor. The passage of time has done what the English could not. The Pirate Queen is gone now, buried somewhere on Clare Island in a grave that has never been found. But her name remains. It appears in books and documentaries, on pub signs and tour boats. School children in County Mayo learn about her before they learn about the English kings who tried to destroy her. As evening falls over Clew Bay, the water turns dark blue, and the islands become silhouettes against the sky. The same wind that filled her sails still blows across the bay, the same tides that carried her galleys still rise and fall against the castle walls. The Pirate Queen may be centuries gone, but the place she shaped, the waters she commanded, the story she left behind, all of it remains, as enduring as the stone of her towers and as restless as the sea. The sound of the wind and the waves is a reminder of her presence, a reminder of the power and the beauty of the sea, and the woman who once ruled over it with such courage and determination. As the stars begin to twinkle in the night sky, the islands of Clew Bay stand as a testament to her legacy, a reminder of the impact that one person can have on the world, and the enduring power of the human spirit.